Good morning, everyone. We're live for coffee and questions. A little bit behind schedule this morning, but you know, it's Friday. Yeehaw! All right, let's see who we've got on. Nobody yet. Currently talking to myself. Oh, we've got someone on. Yes. Good morning. Hey, Nick. Hey, Nick Kip Kitten over on Facebook. Good morning, Nick. How you going? I haven't talked to you for ages. All right, I've got some peeps joining on Insta. More dietitians. Funny. Get my screen happening. Hey, Nick. Are you working from home at the moment, Nick? Good morning on Insta. Muhammad the dietitian, more dietitians. Why do you dietitians watch these things? Tell me. Tell me why there's dietitians on here. Surely there's better things to do than watch another dietitian talk about random things. Good morning, Joannis. Good morning, Leslie. Hello, Carmel. Everyone's on Facebook this morning, not Instagram. Got all the dietitians on Insta and all normal people on Facebook. How you going, Carmel? How's farm life treating you? All right, we've got some good questions that have come through today. So hopefully the people that ask them are going to jump on and see the answers to their questions. Got some good ones. Jo will be here. She's asked a million questions again. Actually, I think I left my questions list downstairs. Hopefully I remember what was on there. Good morning, Margie Lewis. Hello, Liam. Liam, good question. All right. Hey, Liam. So I've got my spy belt covering my phone screen again, so I can't see anything without like flipping it to the side. There's got to be a better way. Kel, a friend of mine, sent me a link to get like a phone tripod thing. I've got a phone tripod. I need a double phone tripod, and then I'll be able to have two things happening at once. Who else have we got? Out on my run joined. Good morning. How's everyone surviving isolation? Is everyone okay? Is everyone starting to lose their shit a bit more? I feel a bit calmer this week compared to last week. Last week I was ready to, like, I don't know, just go run a marathon or something, being cooped up. This week I feel a little bit more calmer. Could be the sleep deprivation. Hello, Joe. Good morning. Good questions, Joe. Hey, Joe, what's with the protein theme? Are these questions for you, Joe, or are they for your partner? Because there's been lots of protein questions from you over the last few weeks. So what's going on? Tell me. Now, has everyone got a coffee? Last week we had heaps of people. It was so cool. If you can do it again, it'd be awesome. Take a photo of me on your screen while you're drinking your coffee. It's the best. Then there's people drinking coffee all over the world watching this Insta Facebook Live. It's just amazing. Okay, what do you want to know about protein for, Joe? I'm trying to do more weight and strengthening as well as cardio. Okay, cool. I can write you like a strength-based meal plan if you want, rather than triathlon. That might help, rather than trying to figure it all out yourself. Oh, I just flipped you guys accidentally. Who else we got on? Hey, good morning, Art, registered foodie. So Joe says, I've been tracking my macros through MyFitnessPal to help lose weight. Okay, gotcha. That makes a bit more sense then. So, Leslie, you're hilarious. So Leslie has said good morning from the Dietitian approved account and also from the Leslie account. That's pretty funny. I'm just going to remove that for you, Leslie. Joe. So MyFitnessPal is a good tool to use. It's not the most accurate thing in the world, and you just have to be careful with the like, this is probably why you're asking me all these protein questions. You have to be careful with the numbers that they set for you. Like, you put in your height, you put in your weight, and then it spits out like you need this many calories, etc., and you just have to be quite careful with that. It's very generalized. It's just based on a general equation. It's not based on anything specific to you, and so it needs a bit more individualization than that. Like, if it's working, then keep doing it, but yeah, just be careful with the numbers that it gives you. And then also depends what database it reads to get the nutrition information. It's probably like relatively up to date, the MyFitnessPal database, but I guess just double check foods and ingredients and things. Like, if you've got a product, have a look at the label and make sure that MyFitnessPal has said that it's the same as what it is. If you're estimating based on other foods, then there's just a fairly large margin of error around that. That's all. So if it's helping you stay on track and it's working, then great. But just be careful. Use it as a tool rather than like the gospel of this is exactly what's happening. Hello, Mackenzie. Hello, Janet, the dietitian. More dietitians. Seriously, why are you dietitians here? Tom Price, also a dietitian to be. Surely there's something better to do than watch a dietitian do Facebook Insta Lives on a Friday morning. Like, surely. Janet, the dietitian. Welcome. Oh, man, I reckon there's 50-50 dietitians versus non-dietitians on here. So Joe said, yep, I usually try and input the ingredients myself from the packet. Yeah, and so if you're estimating other meals and things, like if you're out and you have, I don't know, as an example, a burger, there'll be a burger in the MyFitnessPal database, and it's just a gross generalization of what a burger would be. It's not specific unless you're drilling down to the exact, like, this is how much the bun weighs and this is how many grams of tomato are in there. So you still have to take it with a bit of grain of salt. It's still general numbers rather than like definite. Tom Price, shouldn't you be studying, mate? Hello, Elise. Escape having to do work this morning. Good work. Maybe we should put that as the coffee and questions like motto. Avoid work. Join us live. All right, so we've got a bunch of people on now. Let's get into some of these questions. I was just saying before, I'm pretty sure I left them downstairs. I wrote them out this week. I didn't forget, but now they're downstairs. So we'll have to go on memory. Tom says this is how you procrastinate. I think a lot of people will probably use this to procrastinate. Carly's usually on here while she's doing some other things. Hello, Kylie Nutrition, another dietitian nutritionist. Seriously, guys, what are you doing? I don't get it. The last thing I want to do in my days is watch another dietitian. Okay, all right, let's get started. So Liam's on here. Liam asked a question around kombucha. So let me try and get the wording right. But Liam wanted to know if B12 is produced like naturally as part of the fermentation of kombucha. Really good question. So I'm assuming people know what kombucha is, but if you don't, it's a naturally fermented drink that uses a SCOBY. So a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. And it's basically, you start with tea. Hello, Janet the dietitian. I see you go live sometimes, but I never tuned in, so I'm curious. Okay, welcome. Enjoy. Have a good time. We're a place of positivity and a bit of banter, so we're not too serious in here, so don't expect anything amazing. Okay, so yeah, kombucha is made from SCOBY. So what you do to make it is you put water and tea and sugar in a big vat, and then you put your culture of bacteria and yeast in there. It's like a big disc. If you've ever like seen it, I used to make my own. It's like a big I don't know, I can try and find you an image, or try Googling an image of what a SCOBY looks like. It's a big round, like sloppy disc thing. And I guess the kombucha companies have their own SCOBY, and that's kind of their like proprietary blend. Is having a certain range of bacteria and yeast that produces their kombucha. And so what happens is that SCOBY, it actually ferments the sugar, it produces carbon dioxide and a whole heap of other things. And so as part of that natural fermentation, it does produce B vitamins. So B1, B2, B6 and B12 are commonly found in kombucha, plus a whole range of other things. So the answer to your question is yes, Liam, it definitely does produce B12. There's a couple of things that you have to be mindful of with kombucha though. Not all kombucha is created equal, and there's a few things that you want to have a look for when you're buying one, if you don't home make. So you want to make sure that it is made from a SCOBY and it's not an extract. And you can tell that usually by having a look at the ingredients. And you can also, like if it says it's got sparkling mineral water in it, then it's a reconstituted extract and it's not natural sort of SCOBY. So I'd avoid those sorts of ones. The other thing with kombucha is it needs to be refrigerated. So if you're buying something that's on the shelf or shelf stable, it's not a natural sort of SCOBY, it's probably a reconstituted extract. So it's not going to have had the same like probiotic benefits and all the other like good ingredients in it if it's just a reconstituted extract. So that's one, making sure it's made from a SCOBY, not an extract, so there's no sparkling water in there. You want to make sure that the alcohol content is labeled as well, and they're testing that. What did Liam say? Sorry, my Insta just crashed. Oh, you might have to watch the replay, Liam. I'm answering a question. Good morning, Morgie. Yeah, check that the alcohol content is labeled, so that you want to be testing, the company should be testing for the amount of alcohol. So as part of the fermentation process, alcohol is a byproduct. And so if you're home brewing, there's kind of no way to test it. That's one of the reasons I stopped home brewing, is that I didn't have any idea of the alcohol content. And like people have been pulled over and breath tested and blown over drinking kombucha, like home brew kombucha in the US, not in Australia, but in the US. So it's one of the reasons why I stopped home brewing, because I didn't really want to be drinking during the day, trying to work. So the alcohol content should be labeled. So if that's not on there, then it's probably not a real kombucha, or it's a like bootstrap backyard kombucha that is, yeah, not sort of regulated, because for it to be produced as a product, we need to keep our alcohol content low to be a food product. So that's another point. You also want to check for artificial sweeteners. So you want to check that it is literally just some sort of tea, and some sort of like natural, like raw organic sugar or something like that, rather than heavily sweetened. So it could have raw sugar as if first, like one of the first ingredients, because that's what they use to create it, and then it's had sweetener added. That would mean that it is potentially a normal kombucha as well, but it's ones that it's just like an extract, sparkling water, sweetener, like that's not really kombucha. You're not getting the same benefits out of that as a reconstituted extract. Liam said, I do like drinking though. Liam, you're an athlete. You're not meant to be day drinking. You're meant to only be drinking in off season, mate. A lot of people do mix kombucha with things like vodka and gin and stuff like that. So you could also do that, have a bit of health benefits while drinking. All right, so does that answer your question? It definitely does produce B12 as part of fermentation. And then a bit of extra advice is just to make sure that the kombucha that you are drinking is actual kombucha. It's not just a reconstituted extract. So you just have to be a little bit of a label detective and check what the ingredients are and what it's made of, and make sure that it's something that's stored in the fridge as well. So anything that's on the shelf is not real kombucha. It's just a reconstituted extract. Okay, you're welcome. So B12, like B12, if you're looking for B12, would be like, it's a good non-animal source. So most B12 comes from animal meats and eggs and things like that. So as a vegan, like kombucha is vegan and a good source of B12. So it's a good way to get B12 in if you don't have any animal products. Liam said it came up because I saw one bottle that had it, B12, but haven't seen one since. Yeah, so it would require like testing the actual product to see exactly what's in it. So a lot of the bigger companies that are a bit more like researched, like say like Mojo, they would probably test their kombucha to see what is actually in it. The thing though is that it would be hard to keep that stable, like because it's a natural fermentation product, it would change all the time. So depending on what type of bacteria and yeast is in there, it would constantly evolve. So you could test it one day and then maybe a few days later, if things evolve a bit differently, it might be a little bit different. So it'd be hard to label that as a set amount, which is probably why they're not labeled. Remedy, I'd have to have a look at the ingredients of Remedy. Remedy's heavily sweetened, I know, off the top of my head. I'll have a look at the ingredients, Joe, and see if Remedy is got sparkling water in it or not. I think it is potentially brewed. I think when I looked at it a while ago, I think, don't quote me, somebody correct me. I think Remedy is naturally brewed, but then they stop the fermentation process. Or no, they continue fermenting it for ages till it just becomes vinegar. So the longer you ferment for, the more sugar the bacteria uses. And the more like tart and sour it tastes, because it just keeps using all that sugar up, and then they just load a whole heap of sweeteners in there to make it taste better. So that helps to make the alcohol content really low, and they just like keep fermenting it forever. I think that's how Remedy works, but we'll have to have a look. So Joe said negative to the sparkling water ingredient. Good one. Okay, yeah, so that's a good thing. I think that's how they do it. Is that they just continue fermentation forever and then put sweetener in. But yeah, happy to be corrected on that one. Kombucha is not something I'm across all the time. It says 0 sugar, they use stevia. Yeah, yep. So there's not really any sugar in kombucha. Like you add tea and then you add sugar, but the bacteria uses up that sugar. So by the time you actually go to drink it, the sugar content is super, super low. Hey, Try Brennan. Are you in the country, in Australia, Try Brennan, or are you overseas? Okay, cool. Kombucha conversation. Tick. We're all happy with kombucha. It's a good thing to have. Like, I'm not saying it's it's good versus bad. Definitely has some like vitamins and minerals in there, which is good. It's low sugar and it's something different to drink if you get sick of drinking water all the time. But don't drink it and think it's like this health elixir and it's going to save the world or cure cancer. So I guess that's one thing to look out for too on labels, is that if there shouldn't be any outrageous health claims. It should just be like, you know, this is a natural healthy product, but it shouldn't be like we cure cancer and we stop this. So just check for products like that have outrageous claims as well. That's a big red flag, especially when it's hard to test and control what's in the product. Good morning, Catherine. Okay. All right, so the next questions were from Joe, and they're all protein related except for one. So Joe, if you want me to write you a strength meal plan, definitely happy to do that. That might be the best way to get to your goals faster rather than trying to wing it. But Joe wanted to know what happens with excess protein when you don't use it. So protein doesn't get stored anywhere, right? So we store fat as fat and we store carbohydrate in our muscles and our liver as glycogen, but protein doesn't have a storage facility. And so we either have to use it or lose it. And so we'll take what we need at that time. And then otherwise it gets oxidized for energy. Protein's got the same amount of kilojoules per gram as carbohydrate. So 16.7 kilojoules per gram, which is the same as carbs. So if you increase your carbs, decrease your protein, your overall kilojoules is the same. And if you decrease carbohydrate and increase protein, your overall kilojoules are the same. Makes no sense. It's more the other things that you do by decreasing carbs, like decreasing the overall fat in your diet if you cut out junk food. Catherine said, I dropped the ball and didn't get any questions in this week. Yes. That's okay, Catherine. I'm okay with that. You can ask some here. I've just got to move my spy belt out of the way to be able to see them. Have you got a coffee though, Catherine? Good morning, Mum. Okay, so protein, you oxidize it for energy, and you use what you need at that time for recovery, muscle protein synthesis, building hormones, building enzymes. Otherwise, you convert it to fat. So any excess you store as fat, and then any excess too, the higher you crank your protein intake up, the more we know you just pee it out through your kidneys. So you can't store it. You either have to use it, store it as fat, or get rid of it. That's basically what happens. And so leading on to your next question, which was around how much protein should you have for certain sports, there is a range. And so more sedentary people, you need less protein versus more active people. But the range is nowhere near as great as carbohydrate. Like that range is massive. And then I guess the other factor with protein requirements, it's based on how much you weigh. But it's more so based around like how much muscle you have as well. So the higher muscle you have, the more protein needs, higher you need. And what was I going to say? Oh, the sport modality. So strength training, you need a little bit more compared to somebody that does endurance training, but not that much. Like it's only a little bit. Like it's not even the difference of a gram per kilo. And the other factor to consider is how new you are to strength training. So somebody that has just started strength has got a higher protein requirement than somebody that has been doing it for a while. Good morning, Chloe Chang and Tash Guilford, chicks from the UK. Welcome. Must be evening there. Who else have we got? No coffee, already had a double shot. Oh no, Catherine. Good morning, James. Okay, so I think that answers 2 of your questions. And then Art has said, would you adjust the amount of protein for days you work out versus the day you take off and rest? Good question. So it depends what type of training you're doing. Because we know that recovery takes sort of 24 to 48 hours, you could, if you're training every second day or every one day and then 48 hours off, then no, you wouldn't. It'd be if you trained once a week potentially, and you'd want to maybe increase slightly your protein intake for that 24 to 48 hour period. But then otherwise, generally, you kind of just want to drip feed protein right across the week. It doesn't shift too much. So I wouldn't be, like there is no athlete group that I would probably do that for, unless maybe like Tour de France cyclists or something like that. But then you're more so scaling their carbohydrate and their overall energy intake. I wouldn't adjust protein that specifically across somebody's week. It's more around timing and having like drip fed amounts regularly. So we've talked about this before, but your protein requirements are like a cup, and you want to fill that cup regularly throughout the day at regular intervals, every sort of 2 to 3 hours. Any excess spills out, so we oxidize it, we store it as fat, we excrete it through our kidneys, and then if we underfill it, we're underdoing our recovery as well. So you really just want to fill it up nice and neatly every few hours, and that's going to have like the best bang for buck for recovery, muscle synthesis and repair, and building all your hormones and enzymes. Good morning, Romy. Okay, so that's your 2 protein questions answered, Jojo. And then you had a question around food for headaches, which is a good one. So Joe asked if there's any particular food that's good for fixing a headache. So I guess you need to kind of get to the root cause of what your headache is from. Okay, so if you've just started doing strength training, it's potentially from doing that, Joe. And like lifting things where muscles are weaker where they shouldn't be and things like that. But maybe dehydration is a factor with headaches. And so drinking more water can help. Some people are quite sensitive to caffeine or having caffeine withdrawals, so you could be getting headaches that way. And then there are some sort of food sensitivity issues around headaches and migraines, but it's really individual. So it's hard to sort of say specifically this one food can cause headaches or not. Even with food sensitivity individuals, it's highly variable, and it's just getting to the bottom of what the actual problem is. Joe said it's likely from all the chocolate. Why are we even talking about this then? That's hilarious. So yeah, chocolate is another one. So in terms of food sensitivities, like chocolate, like So sulfites in chocolate, in wine. What else? So nitrates and nitrites. All those sorts of food chemicals can be linked to headaches, but yeah, purely like it's really highly individual. So it's just finding out what the issue is for you. And Joe, honestly, if it's just from chocolate, you need to stop eating so much chocolate. Drink some water, go do some exercise. Oh, you're hilarious. That may be a factor. I get migraines periodically without Easter. Okay, so yeah, it could be to do with a whole range of things. It could also be fluid related. It could be exercise related. Like as an example, if this is like completely general, this is not specific, but sometimes if your glutes don't work properly, that weakness reverts all the way up your back, and then you get tightness through the back of your neck, and you can get like headaches on the top of your head. That sort of thing can happen if there's muscle imbalances and things as well. So there's definitely no one golden food that can cause headaches or can fix headaches. It's just trying to figure out what the problem is for you as an individual and then trying to get to the bottom of it. But if it's purely just that you ate too much chocolate over Easter, then maybe stop eating so much chocolate and see if that fixes the problem. Morgie, you switched from Facebook to Insta. What's going on? All right, does anyone have any more questions? I think that were the questions that came through. There's a few spam ones back again this week, which is annoying. Funny, Joe. You're hilarious. But any other questions? Good morning, Triathlon Queensland. Does anyone have a coffee? And can anyone take a coffee photo with me on your screen? Art, can you do that? Good morning. Who have we got there at Triathlon Queensland this time? Same person? My coffee is cold. Having a coffee on this thing is a bad idea. All right, we're good. Okay, so any more questions? Good morning, Fraser. I'm glad you're owning up to who you are now. Good morning, Future Future. All right, any other questions for me? How's everyone going in isolation land? There's a lot of people on this morning, so you must all be procrastinating like Tom. What's been happening in Dietitian approved land? What have we done? What have we done? It's been a bit of a blur this week. So last week, well, maybe 2 weeks ago now, we launched the weekly menu planning, which has been really fun. There's a bunch of people in there doing that. I'm actually going to close that down, like close entries to that on Sunday. So if you do want to do it, now's your last chance to do it. I'm going to close it down until winter, and then we'll open it up again and do a winter menu start. Just to help with all the logistics, it's too hard to have it kind of open all the time. So I'm going to close it on Sunday. And then we'll open it up again probably start of June. That's been the biggest thing that's going on. Perry said just got back from a solo ride. Nice one. Have you got a coffee there, Mum? There's no point riding if you don't have coffee. All right, everyone's gone quiet on me. The Wellness Boutique has dropped in. All right, if nobody's got any other questions, so here we go. Joe, can you suggest some healthy snacks during ISO? I've got carrot, celery, fruit, yogurt, and banana bread so far. They all sound really good except for the banana bread. And Catherine said, you'll be pleased to know I've actually trained this week. Well done, Catherine. You're meant to be training, aren't you? I think everyone has dropped the ball on training because there's no events at the moment. So everyone's like, oh, well, stuff it. I'm just going to sit at home and eat chocolate, which is fine to do for a short period of time. It's just if that extends beyond that for a while, then that becomes problematic. So snacks for you, Joe. All of those sound really good. I'd put some protein into your snacks if you're doing some resistance training. So you've got yogurt there. Make sure you've got like a nice high protein yogurt. You might want to throw some protein with your veggie sticks, so things like cottage cheese or a couple of boiled eggs. You could do crackers with like tuna or something for a good protein hit as well. But just try and drip feed your protein if you're doing heaps of strength training at the moment. Catherine said, I've put the chocolate down at least. Hummus is a good one, Liam. It's not that high in protein though. Yes, it's chickpeas, which is protein and carbs, but you've got to eat a crap load of hummus to get a good hit of protein for a snack. And then the calories or kilojoules kind of outweigh the benefit of that there. So I would use hummus, but I wouldn't use it as your sole source of protein if you're somebody like Joe who were trying to get like a good hit of protein in for snacks. Joe said, I make a good beetroot, garlic and cottage cheese dip. Yeah, that's a good one. You could also make dip with like chobani yogurt too. So do like a tzatziki with cucumber, mint, some lime or lemon juice. And you could use that with your veggie sticks, and then you're still getting the benefit of some high protein yogurt in there as well. Nicola said, morning Taryn, great live chat. Managed to actually catch you today. Welcome, Nicola. Are you working from home, Nick? You can always watch the replay too. So if you're on our like newsletter list, I send the replay out on the same day. So if you miss it, you can always just click on the link and it takes you to watch the replay. It's probably not as cool as being on here live though, but you can kind of catch the questions and the random ISO banter that we've got going. What else you could do? You could make some little like egg muffins too, Joe. Like crack an egg into each of your muffin tins. So you might have 6 or 12 and then put some stuff in there. So a bit of cottage cheese or feta, sprinkle some herbs, some salt and pepper, some spice mix on there as well. And then you could have like a little like mini egg frittata thing as a snack. That'd be pretty yum as well. Janet said, is it on Facebook Save for longer? Facebook saves lives, yep, forever. Instagram TV is on there I've put it on Instagram TV if I remember to download it. Otherwise it's on the Insta Live for 24 hours. But I've been getting Leslie to load them onto YouTube as well. So they are stored forever on YouTube, which is embarrassing. So you can always go and watch that as well. But if you want to get emailed with the link to rewatch the video, jump on over to the website, or Leslie may be able to pop the link in on the Facebook Live now to register for the newsletter, and it just gets emailed out every week. And if you don't want to watch it because you're on live, just delete the email. But it's one way to catch up if you miss it. Alison said banana cake, not bread. Pretty much. So yeah, banana bread is pretty high calorie snack. Slice can be the amount of kilojoules in a meal. So just be careful with that as a snack because it is, yeah, quite calorie dense unless you're cutting off like quite small pieces. It's also hard to make banana bread healthier. So it is like a healthy option, right? It's bananas, it's flour, whatever, but there's a whole heap of sugar in there that cranks up the kilojoule content, and most people kind of don't eat small portions of it. Joe gave me the little vomit symbol to eggs. Okay, no to the eggs then. So you've got cottage cheese, tuna. What about tuna or salmon? Or smoked salmon on crackers is really yummy. Or any of your meats like ham or something like that. Ham, tomato, bit of cheese. What's wrong with eggs, Joe? Egg hater. Someone said ew tuna, and then Joe said tuna, yes. People have their own food preferences, flavors, aversions, whatever. That's why generic meal plans don't work, because chances are you're not going to like stuff. Joe said, I wish I liked them. What about even like scrambled eggs or something though, or flavoring them up with some feta? You don't eat them if you don't like them. There's plenty of other options for protein. It's only if you're limited. But cottage cheese and veggie sticks might be a good one. And then you could even put spice mixes into cottage cheese to flavour it up as well. or make, yeah, high protein yogurt dip like tzatziki or something. It'd be yum. Or beetroot. I know Carmel, if she's still online, she makes my savoury muffins and cranks the protein of those by putting cottage cheese in them as well. So you could do something like that. There's plenty of options. Tuna equals cat food, said Alison O'Ryan. What about salmon, Alison? Tins of salmon, is that still cat food? You can get nice flavoured ones now, and even John West and a couple of those other brands like Serena do like beans and tuna mix things. There's lots of like interesting like combinations of that stuff if you don't particularly like it. So Joe said, any other snacks that aren't so high in protein? I seem to be able to hit my protein target for most days throughout the day. Of course you do, because our protein requirements aren't that high. It's really easy to get it with food without needing to supplement. And Catherine said tuna and salmon are both cat food. All right, so everyone's like tuna and salmon haters. What about some smoked salmon? That's not too bad. Have a look at your old meal plan, Joe, because there'd be some good snacks in there. Otherwise, like just think of like fresh, real foods at the moment rather than things out of a packet to help with the immune system. So things like fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, some crackers, like some nice whole grain crackers, yogurt, some roasted chickpeas. What else have we got? Make some savoury muffins. What about zucchini slice, Joe? Would you make zucchini slice, which is egg, but you can't really taste the egg? What else could you do? My coffee hasn't kicked in yet, can you tell? Fruit, go fruit. Stop eating chocolate and eat some fruit. That'll help you. Eat some frozen berries with your yogurt. Roasting stuff, yes, roast veggies are the bomb. Yeah, chuck some chickpeas with some Moroccan seasoning, like even just canned chickpeas, Moroccan spice mix, chuck them in the oven and roast them up for a bit, and that's a nice little like nibbly snack if you're feeling particularly nibbly and keep going back to the fridge. Joe said, I just downloaded your free recipe guide, so I was going to try the muffins on those. Yeah, the savoury muffins, give them a crack. They are really good. So if anybody else wants free recipes, I'll pop the link in here for you to get access to 12 free dietitian approved recipes, and one of them is savoury muffins, which you could easily put some extra protein in with cottage cheese or something. So Alison said fish should never come from a can. Okay, I do agree. I love fresh fish, but you know, convenience sometimes is a winner for some people. On that, this is like completely unrelated, but we give our dogs canned mackerel, like just the Woolies home brand one. And with all the panic buying and stuff, there hasn't been any mackerel for the dogs, poor things. We've got some now. Went and bought like 8 cans so that the dogs could still have their like healthy fats. But I don't know why people want to eat like just shitty home brand Woolworths mackerel. Like it looks disgusting when I pull it out of the tin, but turns out when you panic buy, you buy random crap like that. Emma said, what about your banana pancakes with nut butter? That's a good sort of higher carb snack, Emma, rather than like that's a good like snack, I reckon. Nice and balanced, like lots of carbohydrate with some protein for somebody that's doing lots and lots of training and lots of endurance exercise. So Leslie has for me posted the link to get free recipes over on the Facebook Live. If you want to click on that, you can get access to 12 of those free recipes. I can't link it on Insta, sorry. Queen of Cakes, welcome. All right, if there's no other questions, it's been a good snack conversation, plus a bit of kombucha in the beginning and then protein in the middle. We might wind up. Keeping within the hour mark, Catherine. I always think coffee and questions will go for maybe half an hour and then it ends up going for an hour. So keep it within an hour so that people can actually go and do some work, but still have a bit of banter. So I hope everyone's feeling okay and is surviving. And let me reach out if you are struggling or you need help with anything. Catherine said she'll have some questions for next week. It's okay, Catherine, it's cool. As long as you're on and you're drinking a coffee with me, then that's all that matters. So if anybody did drink a coffee with me, post a photo and tag me in it so that I can see everyone drinking coffee with me around the world. That's pretty cool. All right, you're welcome, Liam. Let me know if you start home brewing some kombucha, Liam, and I can give you some tips. It's definitely a whole different world out there, kombucha. But for any of you listening in the beginning, just if you're drinking kombucha, just double check the label and make sure you are drinking like a real kombucha and not an extract, so you actually get the health properties and the benefits out of it. All right, guys, have a good Friday. Have a really good weekend. I hope you survived Easter and ate lots of chocolate. And I'll see you next week for Coffee and Questions. We'll try and get on at 8 a.m. next week as well. I can't wait any longer to drink coffee. I drank a tea one week and that was horrible. So we'll try and get on at 8 a.m. on Fridays. Liam said, I'm considering it, so I'll hit you up if I do. There's heaps of people that have scobies around Brisbane if you need one, Liam. You don't have to buy one. There's heaps of people, like when you have your own SCOBY, it just keeps expanding. Like you end up throwing it out because it just gets massive. So there'll be plenty around if you want a SCOBY. All right, Joe, you're welcome. Let me know if you want a strength building meal plan, and I'll see everyone next week. Have a good weekend.